Welcome, ladies. When you can, then love to see your beautiful faces. Welcome, Ross. Welcome, Michelle. I see Michelle is still connecting. Let's see how's it going. So today we're going to talk about something that's very, very close to my heart. How we can be that fearless leader so that we stand. Michelle is not here. So that we stand in our power with, and still being authentic and wanting to serve. That will shift your game. But let's see, Michelle cannot join. Let us get her. Let's see. Oh, Michelle, yeah. So let's see when Michelle is on. Hey, there you are, Michelle. You're so good. You're on mute right now, my friend. Oh, you disappeared. It's okay. You can get off mute when we open the room. But we will get that later. Just sit and relax and ready to take notes and immerse yourself. Can you not? Yeah, try to get off mute so we have when we have the open room. Maybe on Zoom. Or maybe a computer, Michelle? Oh yeah, so I can't hear you. Okay. No, take your time. We have time together. We're saying so we are filling the room as we go along. So here's the plan, ladies. We are broadcasting live. Ross, you can't hear. Oh, you can't hear Michelle. No. So Michelle, but the first part of the session, we're gonna broadcast to YouTube, and then I open the room for VIP for questions so we can dive even deeper. But then we want that we can use the chat as well. So but we have time, Michelle, so just lean into this. But it's weird. Sorry? Yeah, just a second. I can see you're still you're still on mute. So all right, let's get let's kick off. So fearless leader, and then we're just gonna also want to go live, right? On why do we go live? So now we are going live on YouTube. So welcome again to Fearless Leader Mastery. It's every time I do a training, there's always something new because I constantly expand my understanding of being fearless, learning from the greatest minds. So even you, Ross, there will be some new shots for you. But today it's all about, first of all, helping you understand why, I would say for me, it's why it's so important to be authentic at work and at home. I did a post this morning, I think also did to my community, for sure, the consequences if we are not authentic. And those are huge. But we're diving in on that of being fearless. We're diving into, now you're on. We're diving into the science of being us. Then we are diving in on how can we actually align our actions with quantum leading? What do we actually need to shift in order to be fearless? And it's very, very much a conversation of where are you right now? What do you want to achieve next for you? because you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So it's all about, and also in this session, be so brutally honest about yourself. How do I show up right now? Your influence is a mirror of your inner state, and your personal brand is also an influence of, also is a mirror of to what extent you're able to influence. Sometimes we want to influence more, but our personal brand is actually not a match. So we want to weave that one in as well. Talking about the three biggest mistakes, actually, there can be a lot of other mistakes. I want to dive in on the biggest mistakes I see that leaders do, and all those I work with are leaders like you on your levels. We want more in life. We want to create more impact, but we're not conscious aware of how we're showing up. So we're diving in on that, and then talking about scarcity mindset. So it's a really interesting program. And then we have our VIP room. And those who are watching from YouTube, if you want to join us live, then hop over to, I don't even know, our website, www.calbergcoaching.com/fearless-leader-mastery. Sign up there, it's for free. And then you get the link, and then you will be able to join us live in our VIP room and ask questions. And it's very powerful to ask questions because it's hot seat coaching. So that's my invitation to join us there. All right, little bit of backstory, and it weaves really well into what we're talking about, obviously, today, and how you can stand out. I've always been like you, always been in leadership. I have, for most of my career, served leaders who were very powerful, very charismatic. I would say very dominant, very, and sometimes also very difficult. And I have both been given, and at one time, I was given 10 sessions to a psychologist, because that was a culture. If I couldn't be in a room with a big and difficult personality, something was wrong with me. And I was even working in HR, and I thought, that is really, really weird. Do I have to accept that people can be really dominant? I just really didn't understand that. And then later on, as I started under my own brand, I then was not directly involved in those political discussions, but I saw how other leaders were set up for success. And I don't think that was the right way to do it. Let's understand how we can take the room being authentic. Let's train that. So that was and I'll talk about later, but one of my mentors would say, like maybe Jane, the moonshot. I had such a passion to change how we set people up for success. So that was my leeway into, now I'm framed it, fearless leader. For most of my career, I haven't been a fearless leader. I have been so afraid of making a mistake. I was so afraid of voicing my opinion. What if I would lose my job? What if they didn't like me? There were so many what ifs. And it took a toll. It impacted my mental health, and obviously also how I led. And the more I dive into this, the more I'm always honest, is that I didn't show up as the best version of myself. But I realize that now, but knowing what I know now, no one told me, hey, the way that you show up, is that really in alignment of who you are? I don't believe that any of us on this planet are born negative. We can't, because any baby is born naked. Right? We are all born naked. We're all born with that abundance mindset, that if we want milk or we want a football, we want it now. but there's so many opinions that have been instilled in us, and girls have to be quiet, just conform. And I got to really say, but how can we then break free from that? Because I, for sure, was not me at work. And I even conformed at home to other people's expectations of how I would show up. My passion and my drive and my obsession, as Naveen Jain would say, passion is for losers. We don't want to be losers. Passion is a hobby. So we have an obsession. My obsession is to take leadership to a very different level, where it's not about the result, but it's so much about showing up because we want to create an impact. It's about flipping this script, and it's a bit about what we talked about, Michelle, the other day. It's about coming from the place of, I'm here because of the job, I'm here because of the money, to actually money and salary being secondary. And I so much want to set you up for success. And you, Michelle, you would be so happy. I'm so passionate. I'm so obsessed to set you up for success. I started working with that and playing with that. And what happened was that when you take you out of the equation, then you take stress out of the equation. Then you take pressure out of the equation, because then it's only the cause, the project that we so much want to contribute to. But until then, it's all about how do I perform, right? We're so attached to the result that we deliver. And I hear it so often. And this time of year, right now, there's so much pressure on people. And they cannot take time out. They don't feel that they can take time out. There's so many results-oriented projects. And they're so in this whirlwind of, how do I even manage myself? How do I manage my energy? I'm sucked into this. I sleep badly. How do I do that? And that's where being a fearless leader comes in. Because it's about, type it in the chat, and then I pause, Michelle, for a moment.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we are not, stress comes because we do not show up in a way that's truly aligned. And stress comes into our life because we are not in control of everything that we have on our plate. But it's because we are not clarity. And I've seen so many leaders, and that's why I'm so obsessed by changing how we set leaders up for success. And with all the things and tools I've learned to share and pass them on to you so you can practice and you can develop, is that instead of burning our light in both ends, instead of, I've seen it, so it breaks my heart when I share that people come in and 8:30, they're just lying, they just collapsed. That's not worth work. It's not worth life. And really, we're trading in way too much of our life for a job with a relatively small amount of money compared to how many hours we put into our work. So I said, I want to change this, but how do we do it? It gets to me to say, how do we actually do it? And I start to learn from very successful leaders. And here's what I discovered, is that for us, and that's the greatest leaders in this world and entrepreneurs, for us to be fearless, or the greatest leaders, they are fearless. They have no fear. They don't come from fear. If we come from fear, we come from scarcity. And they are so obsessed with solving, not with solving the biggest problems, but they are not attached to the solution or the results. They are attached to the conversation. And that's a fundamental different way of thinking when we go to work. When we go to work and we say, this is my result, and we're so attached, then we come from a place of ego. And it's transactional oriented. But I know you and all the other amazing women with my community and my network, you want to give back. You want to take your life to the next level, as Michelle, as we were talking about. You have your wisdom and you know exactly what to do. And you're ready to give back. Which means that if we are ready to give back, we have to shift our mind from being attached to the result, what we're doing, to be very transactional oriented, to be truly transformational oriented. So that we ask questions. We don't come with answers. We come with answers when we are very transactional oriented. That's most of corporate. Instead, the greatest leaders, they come with questions. And I found that really interesting. Yeah, that required us to flip the script and moreover take ego out of the equation, because success is not about me. It's about the conversation and the questions. And so you go out and rehearse and train and do your transformation. So when we talk about fearless and abundance leading, the signs of that, not only is that the mindset of how you see yourself, your self-concept, but it's as well as your conscious awareness and the thoughts that you think, all about how you serve. And I got to really dive deep within and say, but how do I actually, at that point in time, how do I realize I don't even record it now, I record it on. It's recording on YouTube. Oh yeah. How did I present myself? And if you follow Bob Proctor, for example, he was my online teacher when it comes to this point, is that you're not just a name, you are you. It's just me. No, it is really you. Take a hand, take my hand. And I got to really understand, what did he mean with your identity? And it's also the work from Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard, back in, I think it was in 1937, he did some training, and he talks about I am. And most of my career, I said, I am a change manager. I am a consultant. And I started to struggle when I presented myself as a coach. What is a coach? I couldn't connect with that. And suddenly I realized that the I am, our identity, is actually, for me, flipping even better. When you flip it to say, I help amazing women break through to the next level. Because if we, and that was really interesting, because that was the work of Neville Goddard and Bob Proctor, the I am, and how you see yourself. Because how we see ourselves even either expands or contracts. So when you are a fearless leader, it's not about I am VP of what, because what is that? You facilitate whatever that is to achieve greater results. as a fearless and really abundance leader, it's nothing to do with you, but we're so attached in corporate to our titles. And that shifted so much for me. And here's what is shifted when we talk about fearless and abundance. First off, who am I? I am someone who is so obsessed with helping other people. And it required me to let go of all my limiting beliefs about myself. I'm not good enough. I fear being rejected. Why would people listen? I've really had to let go of those limiting beliefs. Nobody wants to work with me. There's no job for me. This is really hard. All these stories that we tell ourselves, because that is reflections of our inner world, and it's a reflection of our personal brand, and it's our reflection of our influence.
An experience.
It is experience, but we can shift it, right? Because if what we tell ourselves, we get more of. So I started to say, what is the experience? I love that word. What is the experience I want to, what is the experience I want to experience? And what is it that I want to experience? I want to experience being in a room with brainstorming and diving in. I'm not coming in as a box change manager or whatever. That's not me, but who am I? I want to allow myself to be so free and ask questions because I'm genuinely curious. And that I also want to dive in on today together. Where are you blocking yourself? Where are you blocking yourself? When in whatever situation, so you come from scarcity rather than from abundance, allowing yourself to be abundant. When we come from scarcity, we come from a place where everything is permanent. It's just this. Nothing can change. It is just permanent. And we're not really interested in helping others. When we're genuinely interested in helping others, title doesn't matter. It's about being in the room or crashing the room so that we can ask the questions. And as coming from scarcity is also that I have to work really hard in order to be successful. Money doesn't flow easily to me. It's so closed or fixed-minded perspective, and I've been there most of my life. So it's not that I said I've been there for years, but I learned from very successful people. And when we go and just observe the corporate world, most people operate from a level of scarcity. And when we operate from a level of scarcity, if we want to be the abundance leader, we want to be the fearless leader. We want to be more greater than those who operate from a scarcity mindset. We have to break free so that we can challenge that mindset that is so fixed, that is so fearful of the future, because it's an experience, it's been what we've been taught at home, the belief systems. But a belief system is so true to you, but unless it is the universal truth, it's a belief and it's experience that has become a belief and has then segmented that is the truth. But very few things are universal truths. And that's why I'm so hooked and obsessed with talking about and helping you understand the concept of being fearless. It's about being in the room and being so observant of people. Are they coming from a level of abundance or fixed-minded, where their past experience, and I love that, Michelle, suddenly become the truth? What's possible and what is not possible. And unless we're so aware of that thought patterns of thinking, that becomes our ceiling. We cannot break through. And the consequences is that we know we want more, we can do more, but we don't have the tools yet to break through. So rather than going out and create more, that energy goes within. And it's an energy that, that just drains us down, and we are so frustrated, but we keep hitting that ceiling. Those, right? We keep hitting. But now with this understanding that their fixed mindset is a belief, is an experience, is come a belief, is a truth, but it's not the universal truth. It's simply a reflection of their inner world and their personal reality. So for us, for you to be that fearless leader, it's about being so aware of the people you talk to, so that you can with challenge that fixed-minded perspective and no longer hide, no longer not speak powers to truth or love, no longer dim your light. Okay, we can do that. That's also okay. I hear that so often now, where we say it's okay, but it's not okay. It's either okay or it's not okay. And if it's okay, you don't feel comfortable with it. How true is that?
Yeah.
You know, you compromise. So that's where we're diving in on today, and I'm adding a lot to this, and also want to pause for conversations and questions, but understanding that, and here's where consciousness comes in. I have a lot of notes here on my desk. Here I have one. The I am is a conception of yourself, and it is an expression of your internal being. Which means that when we're in a room with big personalities, I am the boss. Yeah, but that's a very limited perspective, or we give away power to a title. And I hear that so many times, that when we're in a room with titles that are higher than us, or bigger titles, we suddenly make ourselves, and it is so wrong, but that is by history. But we have the opportunity to reverse leadership. We have the opportunity to redefine what leadership really is to be in that room, feeling as we are peers, and ask a question coming from a level of curiosity. Curiosity is to do it with fear, not without fear. Being on integrity, coming because we want to solve a common solution, or not a solution, we want to find a solution or solve a problem. It's not because I am right, because then it would come from ego. But, and when we understand that the only person who can give you the permission to be fearless is you, then you no longer have to wait to be asked, and what do you want to say, Michelle? Or do you have something to add, Camilla?
Yeah.
Or Ross?
Speaking
Oftentimes, sorry.
Speaking of eye level, same eye level.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
But we so often, we wait to be given the permission to join the conversation.
I don't.
That's good, but many women do.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. You know, when you're saying that, I'm thinking of big meetings with a lot of C-suite people, for instance, And even directors, they are scared to speak or whatever, and they are waiting to be asked. Yes, most of the people act this way.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
And what happens, I love that awareness, and thanks for sharing, Michelle. Here's what happens, is that causes stress. It causes dissatisfaction, unhappiness, sadness. It impacts performance. And we then go outside work. We take that frustration to home. It impacts how we show up, how we engage with our family, our friends. And we end up delivering and living a mediocre lifestyle and life, rather than actually giving ourselves the permission to live full out. And most people, and that's why we're so into redefining or disrupting leadership. We are all born with the amazing gift to speak power to truth we love. We're all born to just lead and be ourselves. If someone says you cannot do that, be really curious. Who are you to say, I cannot do that? Why is it that we give so much control to other people on how I can show up and what I can share and what I can't share? And right. And I had a conversation recently with a client, and the conversation went, I cannot do that because I'm not expected to share that. And it was really creating some frustration. But if you sit with critical information, now's your time to give yourself the permission, even though you're not invited into the conversation, because some people will never invite in those people. Do you know a bit about energy? We're going to talk about later. Do you know about energy, Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, level 1 to 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So people who operate from scarcity, who are dominant, they want to be dominant because they want to be in control.
Exactly. It's a lack of confidence as well, because you have you have a dominant person and someone who is more in retreat, and every time two people are together, you automatically have this kind of settings, someone who is dominant and someone who is less ready to put himself forward.
Yeah, I love that. It's a lack of control, lack of trust in one's own abilities. But when people come from not trusting themselves, they show up as being really dominant, very controlling. And unless we understand that personality, that can be more harmful for a company and a team, because it will never lead to a fruitful collaboration.
Yeah.
And that person is also only me. But until we understand that, until we have those tools. So actually, what is going on when I'm in a room with a big personality? How do I react? Do I react? Do I withdraw? Do I get angry? Do I get aggressive? Because then I'm on par with that person. I'm just reacting, but I don't get anything. Or just do I see that person as who that person really is? And if we don't give our power away to that person, right? Then we're good.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
When are you, because we all level of conscious awareness and being fearful and fearless, but what are the times, Michelle, when you may feel less confident or fearless than you actually wanted to be?
Usually I'm not fearless. I mean, I'm not impressed with titles, with people who think they can impress one because they are used to and it works most of the time. So it doesn't have any impact on me. Nonetheless, there are times where I am more in a more um, in a situation where I don't feel as confident as I should. But I would say if I'm in a meeting, for instance, and I'm not absolutely aware of what is going on, and I want to take part to the meeting, but I can't bring anything to the table. Of course, I feel bad and I feel small. Just to take back what you said earlier. But I don't have this kind of feeling of being less than someone else because one has more experience than I do, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the kind of feeling I have. But there are situations, of course, where I'm not confident at all. And I think that's the case for everybody, actually.
Yeah. But that's the good thing is that we can work on that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And also when we close for the VIP room, we close that, then I can have even more conversations on that. But that's a being, just wanna, when you can't bring anything to the table, then you would come from lack. What
Yeah.
is, yeah. What do
Yeah.
you, how did you feel when you shared that?
Um, I'm not a control freak, okay? I'm
Huh?
not someone who wants to control everything. Um, I like to be well versed in what I'm doing, and for instance, in talent acquisition, in HR, I read a lot, and I want to participate and take part to discussion and things like that. But if there's something which is absolutely new to me, and I can't bring anything to the table, that's what I was saying just before. This is a feeling of lack, of emptiness, of not belonging to a group, because either I can say I was not prepared to join a group discussing such topics or certain topics, or I don't have any clue of something. So, and then it's a feeling, of being less than
Mm.
other people in the room, or if you understand what I mean.
I do. How would you love to feel?
Yeah, at the same level as everybody. And so that's a way why, it's again a question of ego. Because normally I could say, for instance, okay, I'm here, I don't know anything about what is being mentioned, but I can learn a lot from it. But my thinking is, oh, I'm so, I don't know anything, so I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be there. And that's wrong, I think.
Yeah. I love that. You just connected the dots yourself. I love that. Now the next step is to be so aware when you are in it that you don't stand in your own way for your own success. So that you flip the script. And the next thing is, how can we actually go in? What is a quantum leading? What is that next version of us? That next level of leadership, where you are even more fearless, right? It's about
Yeah.
being so aware so that how could you, oh, I know your situation right now, but still, when next time that's a thought, and a thought is an impulse.
Yeah. Camilla, I have an example to illustrate what I was talking about, if you want. I joined a company and in a very important leadership role. And I had to develop a strategy, a talent acquisition strategy for the whole business, not only in the UK, but worldwide. So before joining, before
Just make
starting,
it short because we do have a program. So I
oh,
think I
okay,
would
yeah,
actually rather be curious about next time that thought comes up, what can you tell yourself? Or how can you stop yourself in your tracks?
yeah, that's a good question. I think that, again, I don't have to go back to my ego all the time and think, okay, I don't know anything and I'm not worth it or whatever. Just, okay, Michelle, you can't know everything. Just be there and try to do your best. I mean, it's yeah, I understand your point when you say that this lack, this scarcity, the fact of feeling not at the same level as everybody. And I think this is something I'm absolutely aware I have to work on, for
Yeah.
instance, and I'm doing that as well.
But hang on, so we're going into the next because that is your awareness is so amazing. Because that's the first step in order to level up, pick a new
And accept
identity.
it.
Sorry?
Accept it. Accept the
Yeah,
fact.
first off is accept it, but the first aware of it, and then because aware and then accept it. We have to. That sometimes that acceptance can take a long time. So do I really show up like that? But then when we accept it, then we can work on it and say, okay, what is a better version of me when I'm in that room? So hang on to that transformation of yours because there might be some insights that I'm going to share. And as I want to close this science of fearless and abundance, thoughts carry frequency, and a thought is an impulse. So I came from a lot of scarcity, a lot of from the deeper I go within myself, the deeper relationship I build with myself. But there are still some times, why do I react? But sometimes it's these stupid impulses like you feel less than, but that's rubbish. It really is rubbish. So, and there's a thought carry frequency. It's about being so aware of the thoughts that we think and we stop ourselves in our tracks. So if we tell ourselves something about oneself or someone else, we get to stop that lower frequency of that thought. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 And the more we work on it, it does take time because we work we have 60,000 to 18,000 thoughts a day. So we have a lot of different default patterns. But that's how I started to level up. And I'm still leveling up. I'm still, do I say that? And then it's so interesting. Who is that voice? Is it my mom? Is it my dad? Who is talking right now? And you will discover that sometimes it's not you who are talking. It's actually someone else because you are a product not only by all your experience of your teachers and your employers, but also of your parents, my parents.
Yeah, education and how you grew up and everything. And so that's
Exactly.
why you're right. We have about 60,000, I think, thoughts per day, something like that.
60 to 80,000 calls a
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
And
want us to start controlling them somehow. And
and
meditation is a good way to do it, by the way, or a
so hang
mindfulness.
on. Yeah. And so here's what's really interesting and what we're doing in different cycles and certain communities also with my private clients is that We think between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. And remember, we talked about before about, and I also call it surface level questions and leaders, where we don't ask questions. We are so attached to the results. And unless we start to really pause, then, and now you should consider this as a head, we are only 5% of what you do every day, only that you are aware of. Only 5% of your patterns you are consciously aware of. Which means that we have a lot of subconscious beliefs, ways of doing that no longer serve us. But we just do it because we've been used to it. And sometimes we've been taught how to do it. We just do it.
Yeah, and it's again a question of confidence, self-confidence. Because what people put in your head,
it's not. Because this is a product of your, just how you've done it. And it's whatever that is of self-confidence is help you. But now it's about, when we want to become fearless, it's about being so curious about how do I show up each and every day. And we mirror without us knowing. From when we come in, when we get our first job, we start to mirror other leaders. And for sure, I'm being a high flyer, and I mirrored how high flyer leaders do and operate. And we oftentimes model those leaders because they're also the thought leaders and sought after leaders in that company. But it's not to say they have the best leadership style. So we start to do it like that. And also how our moms talk to us and how our moms show up, for example.
Everything plays. And Ross was right. She has written something. I don't know whether you saw it. She said, we deprogram and reprogram. And I agree fully to that.
But this is here, right? That is where the 95% is the subconscious, and we can, but when we want to be fearless and be so aware on our next level, and we're going into our quantum leading, now it's about really take an honest stance at how you show up today. How do you show up today? And how do you want to show up? What is your current leadership style? And what is your desired leadership style? Do you love yourself each and every day? That's a question I ask myself. I want to be and show up as that woman I admire each and every day, not just 10 minutes every day. I want to do it all the time.
All day.
All day. And there's very few people who show up with integrity all day long. It's an amazing commitment to oneself and also honesty. Do I really show up as that version of me, as I really want to show up? And that's why that quantum leading and fearlessness comes in. Because if we do not take that stand, if we are not so honest with ourselves, and say, when we look ourselves in the mirror, say, do I really show up? And if we say, yes, I do show up, then I'll be curious about where's, wait, there's always growth. And then say, what do we have? What do I want to shift? And then I go into the next level, which is really, really interesting. That is very successful leaders, entrepreneurs. They solve big problems. The rest, they solve small problems. And when we are just attached to the result and we don't pause, when we're not curious, we don't solve the big problems. We think we solve big problems, but we don't solve big problems. And that's called, when we solve big problems, is also called moonshot thinking. What is for you, like I've chosen to be so obsessed with redesigning leadership because I think the way that we do leadership is wrong. I think we can be more loving as leaders, but it comes from oneself and how we show up. There may be something in talent acquisition like that. This is so like, let's disrupt how we do talent acquisition. And that is moonshot thinking. It's about finding what is the biggest problem we have right now. But most often people do not come into a meeting with that mindset. People come in to a meeting with the purpose to have answers to the solution. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. You know, most of the people have a passive attitude. So they are expecting things to come from others, that the thinking is done by other people.
Yeah, and it's all levels. It's that passive attitude is all levels, but it's also sometimes the higher the rank. Some people say rank equal influence, but it does not, it no longer is so. Rank does not equal influence. But influence is your personal brand. And then take that moonshot thinking and ask those deep questions. But you're so right. People, and that's why it gets so wrong and stuck in companies, is that they are passively waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. And the people who do the whole thinking are also those 5%, I would say.
I didn't get the last. People are also all thinking. What's that?
People who really do thinking are the 5% you draw, and 95 of the people don't, I would say, from my experience. I mean,
for me, most people are only 5% aware. This goes for most people. My mentor, and I really, when you really get into it and level up your conscious awareness, it's about being so conscious aware of how you show up. If you are 100 conscious aware of how you show up each and every day and are in alignment with who you want, then you don't have, then you are presented, I don't know what Dr. Joe would say, but most people, they have that style.
Yeah.
This comes only when you invest in yourself, when you grow. And that's why also most people get stuck, is that I have 20 years of experience. Yes, you may have, but you have the same mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So you haven't learned more, you have that cap. So unless you really shift perspective and you can say that I have become a better version of myself, you would forever keep 5 versus 95.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I know plenty of people, but I could count on one hand the people who are like that, you know, belonging to this 5%.
I think that most people, unless you have invested in yourself and worked with coaches for years, most people are on this formula. Has nothing to do. It's like even SVPs. It has nothing to do with titles. It's how conscious aware you are coming from a scarcity or an abundance mindset. If we come from fully abundance, you would be in a different club.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? But when we want to be fearless leaders, we want to understand our subconscious mind. We want to be so curious about, now AI is coming in. When we are not showing up as the best version of ourselves. When do we, just cut it off, when do we allow ourselves to feel less than? When do we want to feel that we have to come with the answer? Like, that's all about understanding, when are we playing small? How are we reacting? Are we aggressive? Are we attached? We don't want to be attached to the result. We want to be attached to the conversation. Most people are only 5% conscious aware.
Yeah.
And that's also what you mentioned about being passive. Most people are then also passive and blaming CXO for why they haven't done it. But we want to break free from that community, that circle of leaders who act and think like that. We want to become greater than the rest. Like, we want to be part of the 1% club who actually brings to the table very powerful questions. And we do that with integrity. That's the moonshot thinking, disrupting, even though there is this dominant person, because we know that dominant people actually come from control, and that can be in the childhood, but whatever, they feel very dominant, and they also performance-wise that I've done that, this is mine. But we want to challenge them with love. And that's why the fearlessness comes in. And the question to you is, where are you right now in that, where you are right now on your performance? And what is that next level of you where you are less fearless? What is that next version of you?
Again, a good question. Where I am now, I don't belong. I'm not sure. I don't think I belong to the 5%. I'm not. I mean, I'm aware in a sense, but not fully aware. So I don't belong 100% to the 5%. But I would say I'm working towards this goal.
Yeah, and you will always hear, you probably know this. No, you're not, but in general, we are all like, the big population is not 5.925, right?
No, but I'm aware that I can get there.
Yeah, no, but here's what it is very, very interesting when we're about being fearless. We can only, our results can never supersede our conscious awareness. Will never supersede our conscious awareness and our identity. So if we want to, in my circle, it's about, and me also, it's like, I have these audacious goals. I don't want to disrupt leadership. Oh no, I have some but I don't know how to do that. But I just know I want to put out this movement, because I think it's so wrong that we give so much power to title, so much power to rank, and it impacts more lives than I think we want to admit.
Yeah. But as Rose said before, it's a programming from school, from parents. These titles, I mean, it's coming from,
Yeah.
grew up with that in mind.
Yeah, but its title is its history. But when we talk about our next level, then we have a big industry where we think like that. A lot of women, like so millions of people, are still we've been taught to have respect for titles. And majority of companies operate like that, because it's not about the culture, it's actually the people and the mind. How do we show up? How do we take the room? What do we feel? How do we engage with these people when we don't have built a relationship? How do we then show up? We shy away, we hide because he's a CEO, so I don't have to share. Like that's so much, but that's one company cannot do it at all. So my obsession is to disrupt how we think about leadership, disrupt how we think about titles. And where was I? Then asking you that, what is that next level for you? Then how do you show up today as that fearless leader? What questions do you ask? And then what is that next level of your leadership? What is that next level of you? Where you are even more abundant, when there is no fear, because right now, if we operate from a zone of comfort, but when we want to grow, we want to do things that are out of our comfort zone. Otherwise, we don't grow as leaders.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding, where do we play small? Where do we accept? Where do we tolerate? And where do we want to really live full out? I truly believe that most of us do not live full out. And how would live full out be for you?
Yeah, difficult to say. I mean, it's very subjective, actually. It depends on, you know, your whole story, what made you actually. And
Say more. Tell me more.
I mean, it's different for each person, because according to what you experienced in the past, in your professional life and before, and in your family, as you said before as well, then it impacts a lot your personality, the way you show up, the way you put yourself forward, the confidence you have in yourself, and the awareness that you have as well. So it's to reach the next step, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's I think that there's plenty of work to do on that, because you have some patterns that they are so part of yourself, those patterns, but it's not that easy to get rid of them. So mindfulness and awareness are, you know, to be aware and mindful of everything you're doing. You refer to those 60 to 80,000 thoughts we have per day. So I would start by that, you know, and see the difference between what you think yourself and what other people thought of you, maybe.
But let me just pause you there, because I think that's an easier way to do that. I think it's about, you're so right, there's a lot of programming and what we've been taught, but it's about being so honest with how we lead. And also, so I work with people who have like a really ambitious goal. Where do you want to, how do you want to, what is your calling here? Why are you here? What is your biggest gift? What do you want to pass on to the next generation? What is the legacy you want to create? That's a big goal. That's an audacious goal. We don't know how to do it, but it's that inner fire, that burning fire. Say, I want to do this. But how to get there requires to become a different version of ourselves. And when we talk about
erase the programming.
No, but there's nothing to do with programming, because that's just what it is. Now because otherwise you give that too much power. But it's about being so conscious, aware of what are your limiting beliefs right now when you enter a room, when you show up as a leader, that makes you do what you do? And what is that next step of yours? What is that next step? How would you really love to show up in each and every meeting? What would you love to do more? That's that being that fearless. So what meetings do you not really engage in, or what meetings or situations do you hold back or hide? But really, that next level of you is that I would love to just show up, me, as who I am. That's I'm curious about you. What if you show up as your fullest version of yourself?
Yeah, yeah, of course, be myself and genuine, authentic.
How does that,
Because
what does that include? Be myself. I love that.
because people at work wear a mask.
Yeah.
According to where they are, with whom they are in a room, in a meeting, who they are talking to, referring to titles, as you mentioned before. If you have plenty of C-suite people listening to a presentation you are doing, maybe you will lack this authenticity because you'll be stressed somehow, and you will think of yourself and not of what you're delivering. And you have to reverse this and think more on what you are delivering, presenting, and less of yourself, of your ego.
Yeah. And what
So
about you? So now that's the outside. What about you? Where do you stand in your own way?
yeah, that's what I said, and not being myself. So appearing as someone else, given a specific situation, and actually this would be in my way because I should be the same in every situation, depending on independently on who I'm speaking to, and this is something I'm absolutely aware of, but you do it automatically. You don't even think of it when, yeah, exactly. Because if, I had to speak with a lot of people sometimes, and I thought, Michelle, you're this and this, and that's wrong. I should have thought, okay, this is what people want to listen to, not me, but what I want to deliver, what I want to tell them, to teach them, and that's it. But
So
yeah,
I
no,
love that awareness. That's why I love that. I love this conversation. So my question to you is, what is standing in your way so that you play
ego,
less? But
the ego.
and tell me more about that ego. What does that voice tell you?
The voice tells me, for instance, when you stand in front of a mob, a crowd, people will first look at you, how you are dressed, how you stand, how you speak, the gesture, and everything. And I think I will concentrate a lot on that, how I appear towards those people. And again, I'm aware it's wrong, because the time I dedicate thinking of this kind of thing, I'm less focused on the real purpose of my being there, meaning the thing I want to teach to people, or, the presentation I want to do, or whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's the way why to make an abstraction of oneself at some point, less, I mean, I shouldn't think too much of myself, but more on the content, you know, not the form, but the content of.
So what is, and when I love that insight. So what is the fear? Could it be, as you mentioned before, fear of not belonging? What is that gets you to get you disrupt yourself in your tracks?
Yeah, because I think that's human. Everybody is not scared, but aware of the judgment of other people.
Why do you give that power?
Yeah, exactly. That's wrong. I know, but I have to work on that. I mean, I know I shouldn't care about that at all. But you know, you grow in in an environment where everybody's criticizing, you know. You should, for instance, you sit at a table in a cafe and you see people going around, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, look at the dress; it's awful," or whatever. And you have this in mind. So when you stand, when the attention of people is focused on you, you know that there will be things like that that people
But
say.
I just want to stop you there, because that's where I want to take a choice. It's your choice whether you want to engage in that judgment and tell, right? Or you want to love yourself so much that you are enough.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it's a question of love. It's, for me, I think it's more a question of self-confidence again.
Okay.
Because it's you know, it's a question of being distracted by futile things, because it's futile, you know, what other people think. Nobody's
Hang on, but
perfect.
then we're going a bit out. But the thing is that when we want to become that next level of ourselves, we want to be so curious about what is that self-confidence, lack of self-confidence. Why do I allow myself to give away power to others rather than loving and telling myself? Because I may be wrong, but I am enough. I am just as good as I am. And my message is so important. But you allow your mind to focus on something else. And that's what I'm working on in my groups. And that's my up level, is that I don't want to conform. I don't want my mind to be hijacked because I don't control my thoughts. I want to be so in alignment of my thoughts so that I can control my thoughts, so that thoughts work for me and not against me. And so right now, as you're building that story, it's just making that story that is not working for you, or it's not good for you. But what if you could flip the script and flip that story and allow yourself just to be good enough so that you can focus on delivering what you are there for?
Yeah, no, I agree. I know that. But that's
One
the
thing is
theory,
knowing, but
that's
another
the
thing is
theory.
doing.
Yeah, but you have the theory and the practice.
Yeah.
And in theory, I know that, and I agree fully. In practice, it looks different.
Yeah. But that's what you want to work on. You can, it's a choice, right?
Yes, it's a choice,
It's a
but
choice.
you know, you get used to everything. So it's an exercise, and you have to work on yourself to get there, and to be absolutely, you know, not permeable at all when someone says something or look a different way, or you know, sometimes you are in a meeting again and you are talking, you think it's very interesting what you're saying, and some people are, you know, reading their emails or whatever, and you
And what
think
do you do?
yeah, and you think, oh my god, I'm not interesting enough.
Yeah.
That's what everybody would think. So if you have the confidence, and that's the way why I say, for me, it's a question of confidence, of self-confidence. Because if you do have confidence in yourself and you know you prepared your presentation, you prepared everything you have to say, and if they are not interested, that's their problem, not yours. That's how I should think.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we're going off a track where I don't want to be right now. But I think at the end, I love it so much. But it really comes down to, in that situation, what do? You ask people to stop.
No, because it mustn't come from people, it must come from me.
Yeah, as
So
a meeting, as a host.
no,
So I
no,
think we're now,
okay.
but let's just roll back, because in all this, it's about giving you some tools. So if you want to level up, be more confident in your leadership, it's about assessing, how do I react? How do I show up in all the different situations? And how do my best version of me, how does she show up? If you allow yourself, other people to just do the emails, then that could be a next step, saying, hey, be that fearless. In my room, there are these and these roles. But most often we just accept that people sit with their computers and they're not even present. So in that fearlessness, it's about doing that self-assessment. How do you show up as a leader today? And if you want to be that trusted advisor, what is that? Why are you bending? Why are you not showing up as that advisor?
I do. I mean, if the attitude of someone disturbs me in a room when I'm talking, for instance, and I would say it in a very polite manner, but I would say, are you listening to what I say or whatever? I would do something. I
But
would.
why are you playing small?
I'm not playing small. I
No,
don't
but where
ignore.
are you? Where,
Oh,
because we
well,
are all playing small. I'm
yeah,
curious about what is it? Why is it
uh,
not working for you?
yeah. It's in a situation where a very dominant person, and again, it's not referring to the title, but if I'm talking to a CEO, for instance, I do work with CEOs a lot, and if I'm talking to a CEO, I have an idea, he doesn't accept my idea because he thinks that his idea is better than mine because he's a CEO. I might play small because, according to the person, if this is someone who is looking for, for just to assess his statue, his power, then I, I think I will play small there because I think it doesn't bring me anything, to have any confrontation with.
How would you love to show up?
I would love to say, okay, look, this is my idea and this is yours. And so you don't accept mine, but you should at least listen to it. You know, a way to impose myself and
Yeah.
say what I think, and 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 that the other person shows respect for my ideas, my strategy. This is what I would like to. But in reality, it's very difficult to act this way according to the person you have in front of you.
Mm. And that's also what, for example, we are working on in Trusted Advisor. But it's not difficult, but it's you giving the power to the difficultiness, that being difficult, so that you feel less than.
Yeah, automatically. Yeah.
Because that's one of your defaults. Many of us feel default because as CEO, we feel less than. But actually, what if? What if we just stood in our power because you have a wealth of wisdom?
Yeah. And a different experience. But when you're in front of someone who says, "Oh, I'm a CEO, I know better,"
What
how do
would
you
you do then?
um then I thought I will think to myself, okay, if you think so, that's fine. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, but how would you love to show up? As you mentioned before.
Yeah, I would tell him. I would say, okay, if this is what you think.
Would you do that as his trusted advisor?
I did it once.
Yeah.
I did it once. I was so mad because I knew it was wrong, and I knew it was something I knew absolutely. And I said, okay, if this is what you think, that's fine with me. And
You
that's what I did.
know, but most people, most of us, we do that. It's because it's so ingrained in us with those with big power. Okay, you know it, but we just know and want to share something in model. One thing is they know, one thing that you know, but you're also being so lovely. So is a one thing, another thing is that you embody. And like the CEO, he knows because of his past experiences, but it's not the future. And that's why we want to understand, why are we playing ourselves short or selling ourselves short? So that we can, I said, that's interesting, but let me just share with you what I know, because that's what you really wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So if I remember all the 4 steps, here is it's called the 4 levels of consciousness. Can I remember them all? This is let me do it back. I know I can do it. I can do it. It's a new project. You want to probably, if you want to do a new project, I say, okay, I do it, and you have absolutely, you have the unconscious consciousness. You don't know how complex it is. Then you know. Then you have the conscious unconsciousness, and that's the know and understanding, and then in the mastering. I know, I understand. Unconscious. Here, unconscious. Here you understand that you don't have the insights, right? Then you have the conscious consciousness. Conscious consciousness. That's about, I read it, I do it, but they don't master it. They don't embody. This is embodiment. Embodiment. And oftentimes, oh, here's, I'm mixing up. I have heard about it. I know. And then this is the doing. You are only in this space when you master it effortlessly, without mental capacity, mental brain power. Most people, that's why we get stuck, and that's why we dive so deep in the trusted advisor, is that, well, I've been through this. Most people say, okay, but I heard about it, and say, okay, and then we would stop. But one thing is that we hear about it, another thing is embodying. That for the CEO, he knows about it, but does he embody it?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right? That's why we want to go in and then challenge, all right, you heard about it, but let me know, because you have embodied it. You have the wisdom.
Yeah.
To challenge him with a love. And that's where this this space is really, really interesting when we talk about leaders and how they show up. I heard about it. Just don't say it anymore. And then if we're not strong enough, we would play small.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting, these 4 levels of consciousness, because they are not conscious. They do not embody what they know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and a lovely assignment for you is to say, okay, how do I show up as this amazing leader? And where do I not show up? as I really want to show up, that next version of me. How do I really want to show up? When do I react? It could be an email coming in. Do you give that? That's just an example, right? With one name, do you give that an impulse? What's that? Or can you feel like a bit aggressive or sad, whatever? Like, how do you really want to show up? Or do we show up, have that inner balance of peace and abundance, so whatever is going out in the outer world will not impact how we feel. That is the abundance. And the more we come from that peacefulness, that I'm just as good and I am enough, and I can ask that question without entertaining a fearful thought, then we are so relaxed in each and every meeting. And then you will be so much more present and listen to maybe what you know, somebody heard, and ask questions that nobody else would ask.
Yeah, it's all a question of consciousness and unconsciousness.
Yeah, it is. And hang
and
on.
a reality bound to it. Bound to it.
So I say again.
I said it's a question of consciousness and unconsciousness, and the reality bound to it.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Because there is, you could be in an unconsciousness of unreality. You could be in an unconsciousness of reality, and you could. Do you understand what I mean?
No.
And you could be in a consciousness of reality.
When you say reality, because reality, what is that? Because reality is just a reality for you. It's not for me.
Reality is what is real.
But real is only in relationship to your personality. Your personality equals your personal reality. So the more conscious
that's
we
what I mean by
become,
that.
sorry?
That's what I mean by that.
Okay, yeah. So the more conscious we become about our thoughts, what do we think, then we also shift our reality. And that's where it becomes really powerful.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I want to go into, there was really nice runway into the 3 biggest mistakes I see, and that hold people, lead us back from taking their game to the next level. And that is, oftentimes people long for external validation.
I would say all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Which is why they are very result oriented. At this level, I teach a lot, and I still use it also every day when I operate. These 4 levels of mastery and leadership. And the lowest level is I call it transactional oriented. And this has nothing to do with titles. This is transactional, it's so focused on the projects. The next is, and this is how. And I hear many people ask about the how, but they don't know the why and the what. And that's where another big challenge in corporations, they just have a very thin brief, and then they just do the how, but they will never get what they really want. Then it's about the wants and when. I forgot right now what that level is, but the transactional, and then there is this is integrator as a manager. Then there's a communicator. This is the corporate why. But where you really want to go is here. It's transformational, where we are attached to the personal why. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I learned this from one of my mentors, and we use this. I use this a lot in my different teachings, because no matter the title, we've been trained in school, in business, to deliver results, and that is really draining.
Yeah, it is.
But we want to go up here, and also do that. About consciousness is about letting go of ego, right? And really come from a place of serving. And that's what we talked about last week. Being so attached to the conversation. Because what happens is that then external validation, I've delivered that. I got this bonus, that's me and me and me. But that is coming from ego. When we do, and this is how much money I made. But here, money is secondary. The conversations you have is primary. And then the result, and then you're being paid in proportion with the impact that you create. And this shifted everything for me. And it also means, when we talk about being a fearless leader, we cannot be fearless when we're in the how. Then we're so attached to the result. But here, that is abundance. That is the fearlessness comes in. Because you ask questions that nobody else would ask.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
And another mistake that I see, and it's really good actually, I draw this, is that when we take, for example, your situation, and I don't mind it because we're broadcasting live, so but take your situation. You're going into a meeting. When we're so attached to the conversation, now we're so attached to the result that I want something out of this conversation, then in our mind, that was also Neville Goddard, it says then the mind cannot slow down. But what we want to understand, and that's another big mistake that I see leaders do, and I've been there myself, that here, when we are here and so focused on how do we do that, how do we do that, we ask surface level questions. Surface level questions, because we are so attached to the delivery. How do we do that? When we allow ourselves to slow down and be so present, and that comes by practice. Like, let me just think about this for a moment and take 30 seconds, just practice, like, or maybe take 2 minutes. Let me just think about it. Or I feel I got a bit like triggered right now. Let me just reset, right? When we allow ourselves to feel our vibrations and slowing down, that's where the bold questions come in. That's where the big questions come in. And that's where I call the moonshot leaders. It is only here you will be able to ask so bold questions so that you get your those you're in the room with to really, really think. Otherwise, and we tested it a lot in Practical Olympus, is that then people would just shoot from the hip. I know this and I know that, but they haven't even paused to reflect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I want to share the last one. I really want your reflection on this. What happens? And this is really interesting. And I see my own patterns in this as well, right? when the how is not materialized as we want it to materialize, we oftentimes we withdraw.
Say again.
We withdraw.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? That is the ego coming in. I'm not good enough. They didn't want to listen to me. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Then we withdraw.
But again, this is unconscious because you're used to act like that.
Yeah.
So this is something you do automatically and you don't even think about it. Maybe you don't even realize that you're withdrawing.
Withdraw. Yeah.
That's because you have this pattern in yourself. That's what I meant before. And you have to break this pattern
Yeah.
by being conscious and aware.
Exactly. And the way to do that is really to invest in oneself and be so curious about, because we cannot do that ourselves. That's why I have mentors on, because the words that you subconsciously pick is that comes from a thought, and that thought pattern is more than 1 year old. So we want to break that. But that withdrawing also impacts our performance, also impact our trust advisory muscle.
Yeah.
So we want to be, and that's one of the top 3 mistakes I see. People are so attached to the how, and if it doesn't resolve the way that they wanted to, they kind of blame, excuse why they don't see themselves as successful. So I also started to say, excuse me, it's time to redefine.
That's all a question of belief, wrong belief. And
yeah. But it's also time to redefine what is success.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, success is to reach one's goal. And
what does that mean?
It's very generalistic what I'm saying now, but reach one's goal is when you set something in your mind. Doesn't matter where you are, in which situation, you want to reach something, and you don't let anything comes in between, so that you can go to your goal, to your aim, and then that's success for me. But it might be subjective. I don't know what success for you is, for instance, but this is how I would define success for myself.
I define success, after I've done a lot of this differently, is that for me, so I learned also that a goal is a goal to come from and not a come to, because then we're journeying to that goal and what next. So that's why in my circles, we wonder, what is a goal 3 years from now, like 10 years from now?
Yeah, but you keep setting goals. I mean,
yeah, you keep setting goals, yeah. But my goal is not so much a tick in the box as the what is the goal, is the delivery. My goal is the serving. And
Yeah, but
here's,
you don't get straight to it. I mean, there are
but
steps.
that's why you can fall into the trap of focusing so much of being transactional. And what happens when you so focus on the goal, you forget the process. And that's why I see many people struggle. They are so transactional oriented that they do not pause. They do not take time to understand the different stakeholders, understand really what is at stake, the cues, and you just end up with a solution. What you want to do, you want to take your leadership to the next level, you want to achieve greater results. You want to be so understand the transformational as a moonshot about it's not speed. What matters is that you're so attached to the each and every conversation and being so aware and present, because then your how and the goal will exceed multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Naveen Jain, one of my mentors, says that the human mind, I've done a couple of notes just before because he's been a kind of a thought breaker or disruptor for me. But he says that the human mind cannot think exponentially. The human mind thinks 2x. That's a 2. And he said that's why most corporations and companies fail. They focus on the how. We want to have the easiest problems to solve are the biggest and the most difficult problems.
Yeah.
But most people don't solve the biggest problems, we solve the smallest problems. And you will solve the smallest problems if you do not pause and take time to really be present in each and every conversation. Then you will just be focused on your deliverables and delivering. That is not it's okay. There's no wrong and right. But what I help my clients with and what I get help to expand is to be transformational. That's why have you been introduced to 2x versus 10x mindset?
No.
No. 2x success is that we think linear. We think time is linear. And that's a 2x. But the 10x is that you go here and then up here. This requires completely different mindset, completely different prioritization, completely different ways of asking questions, and be so attached to the conversation where we are here very deliverable, so oriented. And that's why when we map it over to the 4 levels of consciousness and leadership, is that most people are transactional oriented, even though they believe that they're truly change makers, but they are not as change makers as if you really slow down and are so curious about the why. Most people, and you are not one of them, but most people struggle to articulate what they want. Very few people can articulate what they need. As a trusted advisor, you want to facilitate that conversation. Imagine this is your bridge and here's you.
Yeah, but sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
what is the big difference actually? What they need and what they want, because it leads to the same point. I mean,
no.
If you want to land, a great job and you need it to feel good, for instance, for me, it doesn't make a big difference. It's just the semantic.
Yeah, but it's not.
Which makes difference.
It's not. Because if you just start with the want, and most people stop with that one question, what do you want? You will never get what they really need. This requires the questioning technique. And what else? What do you really need? Go in and slow down and have a conversation with about 5 to 7. What will that give you? What's that? Why is that important to you? And then you will get to what they really need. And here's what's really interesting for entrepreneurs. When they do not do this and curious interest, what do they really need? And you just stop here at that very level 1. Clients, customers will never be happy, satisfied, because people have oftentimes not identified what they need. I need this to solve this. So it's not just the semantics. It's the brain.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah. No, I see. Yeah.
So you are your role as a trusted advisor is to never stop at the surface level. What do you need? I just need this. They haven't even thought about it. Because what do I need? What is my big problem here? You want to understand the pains and the needs. What is your pain point? What is your biggest challenge right now? I'm curious about that. That's when I take people in and invite people into my community. What is your biggest leadership challenge right now? And the same goes as a trusted advisor. What is it, you CEO? What is it that you really, really need? What keeps you awake at night? And that's also why most projects go wrong. We never take
Yeah,
the time to work on the brief.
Yeah. Yeah.
So taking time to be so fearless and be so curious about what they really need, that is your game changer.
Lot of work ahead.
It's just different.
Well, yeah.
How's this landing?
No, basically, yeah, no. Again, it's when you have it clear in front of you like that, you think, yeah, it's very easy. You can get there. But I think the way to get there is not that easy because you have to do something for it, and it won't happen from today to tomorrow. I mean, it will take yeah.
No,
But yeah, no, of course, you're absolutely right there.
it's not. It may sound simple. It may sound easy, but it's not straightforward because it's about
No,
really stepping in to out of our comfort zone and
yeah,
really just allowing ourselves and testing what is it that you really need. I'd be so curious about that. It requires that mindset shift to do that. And that's what we're training. That's what I train and help my clients with and trusted advisors, like really hands-on. What is the biggest challenge right now? And we do that in my other community, Project Olympus, in different ways. But it requires us to be so conscious aware of how we show up, but it will shift your game.
yeah.
And how can you, with what we have discussed today, what is it that you can easily apply to where you are right now in the conversations that you're lining up?
Yeah, my takeaway for today would be, first of all, I think to try to control my thoughts a bit more to start with, and to maybe differentiate whether the thoughts are coming from me or where else. And I think it would be a good start because towards awareness, and toward my goal actually, to serving. But yeah, it starts with the thoughts, I think.
I love that. It starts with thoughts on how you want to show up. And remember, it starts also with your new personality. We worked on that actually in Trusted Advisor yesterday. Your old personality and your new personality.
Yeah.
So really understand, who is that next version of me who dares to ask these questions? What does she do and what does she not do?
I have to do a reboot, a fully reboot.
But you should come join our Trusted Advisor meeting. But here I also want to share just a download. Here's also in terms of 10x. Here, most people, and I start to address it more and more, they procrastinate the most important things. and they work late at night and are overwhelmed. These people are not overwhelmed because they prioritize the top 3 things that generate money. It's a very, very different way of seeing, which also means that we say no to most. Here we say yes to all. We don't want to run fit.
Mm.
We want
No,
to protect our energy.
but there is better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having a 10x mindset and applying that is so different, but it requires that we do the reps, that we learn to say no with grace, right? Or not now, rather than here, and I've been there. We just say yes to everything because of fear of not being accepted, or fear of like, I should do that, all this wrong expectations.
Yeah. Fear is really a pain, actually, because it controls your life. It controls everything you're doing, and it manipulates you as well. I mean, fearless people can do anything they want, and there's nothing to stop them. But yeah, it's absolutely right. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
I love that reflection that fear is the enemy. It just really as a
Yeah,
manipulator.
enemies. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
destroys one. Yeah.
yeah, horrible. Is that?
You from doing something.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And fear hold us back. My body's responding now from not living our life full out.
Yeah. Mm.
So the way to do is really to start to become so aware of the thoughts that we do and the what we do. Do we come from a fear of faith? So do we come from a place of faith or place of fear?
Yeah. But you know, this is again not that easy, because I think fear is in every cell of your body. It's something that it's a reaction that you can't control.
But you
Unless,
can learn.
yeah, exactly. Unless you get aware of it, and then you learn how to control it and say no to it.
Exactly.
But that's the way why.
Yeah. As I say, if I can do, you can, I say that to my clients, you can too, but it requires help. Or you can speed it up and it takes like 3 years or 1 year, 3 months, but or it can take 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? And the question is, how
Everybody.
successful will you be?
Yeah.
But we cannot entertain fear and faith at the same time, and fear is entangled with ego, and
Yeah.
it disrupts living our life full out.
Yeah. It can't be more true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And in every aspect of one's life, not only on the professional level, it's really everywhere. Yeah.
whew, that was even deep. Yeah, it
No,
is.
that's great. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
good to hear it, because I think we know it unconsciously, but to hear it and to see it demonstrated like you did, it's good, to remind us, you have to be careful and mindful of what you are doing and thinking, and the way you act, and no place for fear. So yeah, it's that's very good, really
Yeah.
good.
I was only aware of fear showing up at work. I was not so aware of fear showing up in my private life or my personal life. But you're so right. It's friendships, it's
It's
education,
all of
it's wealth,
us.
it's financials, it's everywhere. Health, mental health, right? It's everywhere. So that's why we want the conscious awareness.
Yeah.
Just before closing, I just want to drop that this one opportunity may be for you, that I'm still inviting you in to join us at Project Olympus if you want to join us. Also, I am filling a small group of leaders for a group VIP day, where we be about 10 people for whole 4 hours together, where we really dive in on your blueprint for 2025. Most people do not plan where they want to be end of next year. What version of them do they want to be? What are the fears? They want to tackle the biggest leadership challenges. What is that? I'm curious about that. That's what we work on together in that group. There is a onboarding call. There's an integration call coming up 1 month after to help you with the tools and help you kickstart 2025. And it's something that I have done with my mentors for a long time, even started back in BP, because I was trained to think 5 years ahead. Where do I want to be? And continuously review that. But now I'm feeling that small group of leaders. We're running the first, I think it's the 19th of December. I can't remember. But if you wanted to, I'm dropping that invitation now for 10 people. It's only...
You said 19th of December, right?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay, let me write it down and see whether I can join.
Yeah. I'm going to set out some information, but it will be, yeah, amazing as the price point is as less than $1,250. And is a private day with me is $15,000. And this is so impactful. So I'm dropping that. I would love for you, if this speaks to you, to sign up and we can have a conversation about this. But this group VIP day will shift that. You have so much clarity on what to do, what you need to do in order to get where you want to go and achieve in 2025.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. It's noted as the 19th of December. Let's see where I am as that date. Yeah, let me see. I will come back to you on that.
Yeah.
And let you know.
Yeah, and I will send more information. But I just wanted to let you know, maybe you have someone because this is about, and we do that even deeper in Project Olympus, but that's where do you want to, coming from goal, as we talked about. Imagine it's December 2025. How would you love your life to have evolved? How would you love your leadership to have evolved, right?
Yeah.
And what needs to shift? And I think we talked about that last week. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. So if you want this, what needs to shift? What belief systems needs to shift? And we're doing meditation exercises. We have like a workbook, right, going so deep in this time together. And we have an onboarding call, we have and a form, and we have an implementation call afterwards. I'm super excited about this because
it sounds great. It sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to drop that. Just before we close, any reflections, key takeaway from our time together? That's been really one-on-one. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was very great, and there's plenty of takeaway actually, key takeaway from what you said, and but I will reflect on that a lot, and I will certainly apply it to me, to myself.
So, what are one of the key takeaways that you want to apply?
I want to be more on the 10x side than on the 2x. And I understand also that I have to know what I need and not what I want. So makes the difference, which you explained quite well. So I will reflect also on that. So it's a lot of exercises for the moment and for the coming days, and I will think a lot of that. Yeah.
If I were to run this again and offer this again, why should people sign up for this free workshop?
Because I think a lot of people are not aware of that. They just go through life with their fears, with you know, I know a lot of leaders are so scared, and so because that's the way they function, that's the way they are, and they don't know anything else. So I think that would be great for such people. And if I do think of some people, I'm very, very happy to recommend you and
Yeah.
Let them join also one of your meeting podcast.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, actually. They know their fears, but that's normal for them. That's their life. That's a way to be. That's themselves. And
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
And
not.
great people, great people, I know. They are so all the time, oh, I'm scared my manager wants like this, my N+1 or whatever. And they stop being themselves. They just are the way other people want them to be. And this is wrong, of course. So maybe that could bring them a lot, you know, open their eyes to see a podcast like yours and make them think and reflect on how they could act differently in the future, in their future.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that, because that's it, right?
Yeah, it is.
We haven't got the tools. We don't get the tools from school.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
just
They don't have tools. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
think
they need the
that's
right
it.
tools to change their way of being, of acting, and yeah.
Oh, thanks for that.
Ask the right questions and yeah.
So I'm just gonna close here. Just stay with me. So and I'm just gonna close the recording.